subway car rattled along its tracks, dim lights flickering above passengers who sat in weary silence. Among them was Thomas Walker, a single father whose life revolved around balancing work, parenting, and the quiet ache of loneliness he carried in his heart. He was on his way home after another long shift, thinking of his son Ethan, who was waiting for him with unfinished homework and the same hopeful smile that kept Thomas going through his hardest days. But that night, something happened that would shatter his sense of normal forever. A cry of pain tore through the air. Everyone turned. At the far end of the car, a young blonde woman clutched her swollen belly, sliding down against the hard blue seat. Her breaths were shallow, quick, desperate. Panic spread among the passengers. Some froze, some muttered nervously, but Thomas's instincts took over. He rushed to her side, dropping to his knees. "You're going into labor, aren't you?" he asked, his voice calm even though his heart hammered in his chest. The woman nodded, her face contorted with pain. "Please, it's too soon. I don't think I can make it." The subway thundered through the tunnel, no sign of stopping soon. There was no time to wait for paramedics. Thomas pulled off his jacket, folded it into a cushion beneath her, and asked the crowd for help. A stranger passed him a bottle of water, another handed over a towel, and slowly the atmosphere shifted. Fear turned into collective courage. The woman screamed as a contraction hit. Thomas held her hand firmly, speaking words he didn't know he had in him. "You're strong. You can do this. I'm right here. Just breathe with me." Minutes felt like hours. Sweat poured down her face. Her cries echoed in the confined space, until finally, the wail of a newborn filled the subway car. Thomas gently held the slippery, tiny baby girl before wrapping her in the towel and placing her on her mother's chest. The passengers erupted into applause, tears streaming down faces of strangers who had just witnessed life being brought into the world in the unlikeliest of places. The woman's eyes, though glassy with exhaustion, locked onto Thomas's. For a split second, something familiar flickered in her gaze, but before he could place it, paramedics stormed in at the next stop and whisked her away with the newborn in her arms. Thomas thought that would be the end of it, a strange, unforgettable night, but days later, while cooking dinner for Ethan, the evening news played in the background. His hands froze mid-motion when the screen lit up with her face. The woman he had helped deliver a baby on the subway. Her name appeared in bold letters below, Rachel Adams. Thomas's world tilted. Rachel Adams wasn't a stranger. She was the woman he had loved over a decade ago, the woman who had disappeared from his life without explanation, leaving him shattered. She was the one he had thought about on sleepless nights, the ghost of every unanswered question in his heart. And now she was back here with a newborn. That night Thomas couldn't sleep. Memories of Rachel flooded him, the laughter they once shared, the promises they made, the heartbreak when she vanished. Now she was alive, real, and within reach. But the questions tore at him. Why had she left? Whose baby was this? And why did fate bring her back into his life in such an extraordinary way? The very next day, Thomas went to the hospital. He found her sitting up in bed, her newborn swaddled in her arms. Her eyes widened when she saw him, and tears filled them instantly. "Thomas," she whispered, her voice breaking. He stood frozen, emotions warring inside him. "Rachel, after all these years, why did you leave me?" Her lips trembled. She looked down at her baby, then back at him. "I didn't want to. My father, he forced me. He said if I didn't leave, he would ruin your life, your career, everything. I was scared. I thought disappearing was protecting you, but it broke me." Thomas's chest tightened, his heart torn between anger and longing. "And you never came back, not once." Rachel shook her head, tears falling. "I wanted to, 1,000 times, but life, it kept pulling me away. And then this baby, she's mine. Her father isn't in the picture. I've been alone, until that night, when you were the one who helped bring her into this world." The weight of her words hit Thomas harder than he expected. He looked at her, at the tiny child sleeping peacefully, and then thought of Ethan, his own son, waiting at home. Life had carved deep scars into both of them, and yet, in this moment, fate seemed to be offering them a second chance. But second chances weren't easy. There were obstacles, Rachel's fears, Thomas's trust issues, Ethan's uncertainty about sharing his father's love. There were whispers from people around them, doubts about whether love could survive so much distance and so many years. Yet slowly, piece by piece, they began to rebuild. Thomas visited often. Ethan met the baby and, shy at first, grew fond of her. Rachel shared stories of the years they lost, and Thomas opened up about the struggles of raising Ethan alone. Together, they laughed again, cried again, and healed wounds that had never truly closed. One evening, standing on his balcony, Thomas watched Rachel inside his apartment, rocking her baby while Ethan leaned close to peek at her tiny face. His son turned to him with wide, honest eyes. "Dad, do you love her?" Ethan asked quietly. Thomas hesitated, looking through the window at the woman he thought he had lost forever. He smiled softly. "I never stopped." And in that moment, Thomas realized the truth. Love hadn't left him. It had been waiting, reshaping itself, finding its way back through the chaos of life. The night on the subway had seemed like a coincidence, but now he knew better. It was fate, handing him the one thing he thought he'd never have again, a chance to believe in love, family, and new beginnings.